Hey everybody, as you can see, I've spent too much time in the sun and I am on my way home from another trip and wanted to take this opportunity to make a quick video, probably not so quick video, about flying with guns. I'll probably break it into a couple pieces just because once I get going, I probably have a lot to say on the topic and it will be longer than your attention span. But suffice to say, I've been flying with guns fairly regularly for about 10 years now. I have a stack of these declaration cards. I've kept about 98% of them. I believe it is several inches thick at this point. You probably saw that as the cover art for this video. But I know it was something that made me fairly uncomfortable and nervous when I started doing it. I read all the magazine articles back in the day about bad things that had happened to people and the hassle and the airlines hate us and all this stuff. I do this fairly regularly. I'm in the upper tiers of preferred status at the airline that I choose to use, and every time I fly, I'm flying with guns, be it just a carry gun, some carbines to train for work, or flying to a match. I've flown with all sorts of configurations, quantities, and types of firearms. I've never experienced any of the atrocities that I read about in Peterson's Hunting or Guns and Ammo back in my teenage years. It just hasn't happened to me. But as someone who does it professionally, I wanted to pass along maybe some of my thoughts, pro tips, best practices, so that you avoid ever having some kind of situation like that, because I do think there are lots of potential for you to cause yourself anxiety, and you probably don't need that, especially if you're the type of person who's going through clicking on a video like this. You're hoping to avoid that. So I've also learned that, in and around other people who are professionals around this, I don't think any two of us do it exactly the same. So this is how I do it, and you can season to taste with how you do it. For this video, I just want to talk about the process itself, the day that you're going to travel, things I do, and how that's going to play out. And mindset for you. We're going to talk about mindset, okay? And how you should approach this, because I do think that flying with firearms is a choose your own adventure type of situation. How it goes for you depends entirely on how you conduct yourself. Using the right words, having the right mannerisms at the right time will make this seamless, and saying the wrong things, doing the wrong things, asking the wrong questions will cause you hassles for sure. All right. So, best practices. First of all, number one, just understand this. The people you are about to interact with when you fly are just people having a day. All right. They're just having a day. They interact with hundreds of people a day. You are just one of many. All right. They probably did not go to their 5th grade show and tell everybody how they wanted to be a TSA agent or a Delta Gate agent when they grew up. All right. Nothing against these people, but just understand this is the kind of job that somebody ends up with. They didn't really seek it out. All right. So they are 100% punching the clock, waiting for 5 o'clock somewhere. All right. These are the kind of people you're dealing with, all right? That's the attitude and the day that they're having when you interact with them, all right? So understand that. Also understand that the second you check guns into an airline, you become a second-class customer, in my opinion. How do I know this? Well, on the app for the airline that I use, I can check in online on the app, get my seat assignment, get my boarding pass and all that stuff. On my outbound trip, as soon as I check guns, on my return trip, it will not let me check in on the app. There's an error. It's been like this for years. People are like, oh, there must be something. No, I have guns. I've called in and I've asked them, hey, like my ass running. Like, oh no, when you check firearms, it's not going to work because they're making sure that you have to come to the counter to talk to them, as if you were going to get those things through security some other way. But understand, you're a second-class customer. All right, I'm in the upper tier of preferred status. I get the little tag. My bag's supposed to come out first. Guess what? It comes out last. That's just how it goes. All right. But you're going somewhere. This is a lifestyle choice you made, or you're going on a trip that requires this kind of thing. It's not that big of a deal. Just deal with it. But this isn't about your civil rights, even though it kind of is. You're working with a private company that is allowed to have this kind of policy. All right. So just understand you're working with employees that don't care about you. They would rather be not in trouble and not be the one that screwed up than make sure you had a great experience. And understand that if you're going to complain about those people, you're complaining to somebody who's going to look at you like a second-class customer. Just calling it like I see it. I hope that we eventually live in a day where that's not the case. I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. So understand that. One of my golden rules, and what I would suggest you do when you're about to conduct yourself going through this thing, I would try as hard as possible to be likably forgettable. Just like in the Ocean 11 movie, when Brad Pitt's talking to the Matt Damon character about going through the security in the back, right? Be likably forgettable, all right? You want this person at the gate and at the TSA, you want this person to like you and forget you the second you leave their sight. Be funny, don't make them laugh. Be polite, don't be over the top. All right? You want to just blend in like you're having a day so that they like you and get to the next person and you don't interrupt their train of thought about whatever it is they're doing when they get off work. All right? That will be the least painful process for you to have. This is not the place for you to exert your rights or make some kind of political stance. It's just not that. Like, you want to be, to use the term, you want to be the ultimate gray person, just another face in the crowd who's checking bags. That's what you want to be. I would also suggest that you know the rules for yourself. All right, so there's not very many of them to know. I would read them, print them out if that makes you feel better. Under no circumstances would I ask the gate agent about the rules. Absolutely not. A, because they don't really know most of the time. And B, if they think that you don't know what you're doing, you are going to get extra scrutiny. And that's not what you want. Even if you're doing the right thing, airline employees are going to default into the most draconian response. All right. They are going to default making sure that they don't screw up, not infringing on you. All right. So know the rules for yourself and just try to go through what we're about to talk about. Don't ask them for advice or tips or anything. They make stuff up all the time. All right. So, other people in my life and just kind of in my upbringing, they're like, oh, well, we'll just ask them when we get there. Not on this. Okay. Do what I'm saying here. Watch other videos. Other people have talked on this topic and made similar videos. They all say very similar things. Trust us. Do this way. It will be okay. And if you run into a snag, you're going to have to handle it on the fly. But don't think that they're going to hold your hand and walk you through this process, because most of them don't really know what they're doing. Picture whatever you do for your professional life. There's probably some obscure part of your job. It's your job. You're supposed to know how to do it, but you don't do it very often. And so you kind of gotta remember that's how checking firearms is for these people. All right. So they do it, they know, but they don't, as a percentage, I would say it's less than 10% of the people they deal with. All right. So just keep that in mind, that you're kind of an obscurity to them. So if you're relying on their knowledge, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Try as best you can to know the rules and procedure yourself and exude confidence if you can. All right. Fake it till you make it. It's easy for me to say now, being on this end of 10 years of doing it. I have a lot of successful experience flying with firearms. In the beginning, I was very nervous. I was very anxious. But on this end of it, I'm telling you, the best you can, exude confidence and assertive in your knowledge of the rules, because there aren't that very many of them to know. All right, you're going to need a hard-sided locked case. This is probably something we'll get into another time, because there's a few different configurations of cases that I fly with, depending on what's on the other side that we're doing and how much equipment I have to bring with me. This particular one's a Pelican. I use SKB as well, but this one is about the size of a large suitcase, to give you an idea. It has wheels, it's roller and all that stuff, but it's the size of a large suitcase. That would be you'd see people typically in the airport. Right now there's 2 SBRs and a handgun in there. You can't really tell it by looking in there. I mean, you can obviously, it looks tactical. It's not a gun case. Like if you open it up though, it's kind of obscured, but you need some kind of hard case, and that case gets locks. You're going to need as many locks as there are holes to put locks in that case. Some of these, specifically Pelicans, the long gun cases, they have 4 holes. Your options are to have 4 locks, which is a pain in the butt, or 2 of those holes could have unfortunate grinder incidents. When you get to the gate, they're going to look and see how many holes there are for locks, and all of those holes need to have locks as of now. That has changed over time. As of right now, they're fairly strict on, if you have one, put one in every lock. In a pinch, it doesn't have to be a good lock. I'm just saying. So I for sure have 2 sturdy locks, non-TSA locks, that I put on the case. And in a pinch, if I need more locks, I use some of those cheap ones you can buy at the gift store, to put locks in the other holes, or you can grind them off, which is probably what I end up doing to most of them. But you need a hard-sided lock case. That's non-negotiable. We'll get into hard-sided lock cases as we go on. But you have all your stuff in there. Of course, it's unloaded. Pack it like it's going to get handled roughly, because it is. I haven't had particularly any interesting instances of stuff that got damaged specifically from flying. I would say stuff I've had damaged has been more from how I packed it. Like I've bent some buffer tubes on some stocks, just because of how much stuff I tried to cram in. That's speculation, but that's the closest I could say to stuff that's actually been damaged, getting handled by the airport. But again, the people behind the checkout counter, they're people having a day as well. And those dudes and gals work for a living, all right? They lift and throw these things all day long. So yours isn't going to get gentle treatment. So pack it like it's going to get handled rough, and be okay with that. Buy a piece of luggage that you're okay getting banged around, or expect to replace it periodically, because that's reality. That's going to happen if you do this quite a bit. But so pack it securely like it's going to get handled rough, because it is, and head to the airport. All right. When you get to the airport, and you roll up to the baggage counter, I usually, because I have status, I end up in the first class line, because I have status to be there. If you don't have that kind of status, you're going to want to go to special services. all right, one way or another. You're not just going to be able to go to a kiosk and get through. They're going to make you talk to a person. So you either want to go to special services, even if they tell you to go somewhere else, ignore them, go to special services, or the first class people. They tend to be the more experienced gate agents interacting with the preferred customers. So that's the line you want to be in. When you go there, words mean things. All right, so this is where I choose my words carefully. But when you roll up there, say if you have a long rifle case, they already really kind of know it's coming. But when you roll up there, you say, I would like to declare firearms, or I need a firearms declaration. All right, don't say I have a gun, although I've never seen anybody react in any really interesting way. Like, oh my God. No, that doesn't really happen. But directly, and this is kind of in the likably forgettable, the professional, I know what I'm doing thing, I would like to declare firearms. All right, that statement says, I know what I'm doing, and that triggers a specific response from them. The response from them is you want a card like this. All right, so as they check you in, then you need, this is essentially a declaration that says you are certifying that the guns are unloaded. So if they are loaded, you're at fault for saying they were unloaded, is essentially what this card says. But this is a declaration that the guns are unloaded. So they're going to give you this card at some point. They have to sign it, you have to sign it, and it has to end up in the case. This is the part that freaks people out. All right, so they probably will ask you, when you say, I would like to declare firearms, they're probably going to ask you, how many? In our brain, the gun enthusiast brain, they're like, the question would be, how many guns do you have? That's not what they're asking. And you don't want to tell them that, because there's nothing good that can come from that conversation. What they're asking is, how many pieces of luggage contain firearms that you need to check? How many declarations do you need? That is the question they're asking you. So in this case, 1. Even though there's 3 firearms in there, this is 1 because it gets 1 declaration card. So I would like to declare firearms. How many? 1. And then they'll ask you some combination of, well, are they unloaded? Yes. If they ask you if you're flying with ammunition, I would not advise you to be untruthful. I would say that they never verify my answer. All right, so be truthful, but realistically, when they ask you if you're flying with ammunition, what they want to know is if you have more or less than 11 pounds. That's how much you're allowed to have. All right, so when they ask you if you have ammunition, the answer is yes, less than 11 pounds, or no, whichever one is applicable. But you're allowed to have 11 pounds of ammo. It has to be in original factory packaging, even if that packaging is woefully inadequate. That's your best bet. Second best option is it be in some kind of hard-sided, like individual cartridge container. Those break. They're kind of miserable as well. Most of the time, you are allowed to fly with loaded magazines. The way the rule is written, you are allowed to have loaded magazines. You can't have them just freeballing around there in the case. You're going to want them to either have like the Magpul snap lids over the top or have them in a magazine sleeve. I actually use some of the Vertex packing cubes. All right, that's full of magazines. So they're in something else so that even if they get jostled around, there aren't any loose rounds flying around. If you don't have any of those options, I have just put a piece of masking tape or medical tape over the top to close the magazine. But realistically, I either try to fly with original packaging, even though it's probably going to come apart, or I have it loaded in magazines. There is some information floating around there about the hard sided, like the bang boxes from G Code. They're like a Tupperware thing. that, you know, it's a hard-sided container that would fit the specifications, but it holds bulk ammo. I'm not saying the people who haven't had problems are wrong. I am saying that I have tried that in the past and I have had issues. So I don't do that anymore. I have had to surrender ammo in the past because it was bulk pack. Basically, when it goes through the x-ray machine, they can see the ammo. And if it looks like it's in some kind of orderly fashion, like it would be in a box or in a magazine, they don't have an issue. If they see it all jostled around in there like bulk pack, then they go in there looking for it. All right, so I personally have not had luck with bang box type containers, and I cannot in good conscience recommend to you that that would be a good option. That would not beget you some trouble, even though you might get away with it. So ammunition, yes, less than 11 pounds, or no. But 11 pounds is the magic weight on the rule book. However, I've never, ever come across a gate agent or a TSA agent who was equipped or interested in verifying that. So yes, less than 11 pounds. Then you fill out the card and you put it in the case. Here is one of the tricks of the trade here. So I'll have the case, it'll be up on the scale, and they'll give you the card. You're gonna take your locks off of it. If you're cute, you can just not have the locks on there to begin with. That's risky. Haven't had an issue, but like technically it's not following the rules. But you know, you're gonna have to open the case to put this inside. They are quasi supposed to verify that the guns are unloaded. I guarantee you, whoever it is at the counter doesn't know how to do that. All right, so this is where I would be as hesitantly compliant as possible if you get a gate agent who is interested in seeing them. All right. And one of the reasons I fly with stuff like this is when I open that up, it is very uninteresting to look at. I put the underwear on top, okay? Not because I want it to look uninteresting, okay? So they're gonna get a look inside there, and all they're gonna see is my clothes, really, maybe a glimpse of the gun itself. All right, so the move is, once you have this, you open the case, you open it as much as you need to, you throw that thing in there, and you close it again. That works 99.5% of the time. Sometimes Dudley Do-Right does want to see inside there, and so you go ahead and open it up. And they can see the underwear. They usually become uninterested at that point. And then they'll ask something like, is it unloaded? Yes, it is. Okay. Do not touch firearms in the airport, all right? If they're like, oh, I need to see it's unloaded, do not whip that thing out and show. They don't know what it's supposed to look like anyway. Good friend of mine that used to shoot 3-gun with us. I'd still shoot 3-gun with him if he wanted to. Josh, come back to us. But he had a story of somebody, they wanted him to show them it was unloaded. And so what he did, he opened the case. See, I need to see it's unloaded. He took the scope cap off of his rifle scope and kind of like, and they're like, put the scope cap back on. That's who you're dealing with, all right? Not that they're bad people or that they're stupid. They just don't know anything about this, and nothing good can come from you whipping that thing out in the airport. Absolutely nothing. If they really make a stink about it and they like start to say like, oh, we're going to have the airport police come over. Okay, good. I would rather talk to them, honestly. It never comes to that though. All right. So under no circumstances are you going to show clear in the airport. No. You're going to open that thing just enough to throw the card inside. Or if they want to see like, oh, show me, like open it up and kind of like, and then close it again. That's what you're going for. Then throw your locks on there. And this is where every single airport is different in how it works. Couple different ways it works out. They could just put it on the belt and you would be good to go. That's extremely rare. One of the airports in Texas, I don't think it's DSW, either Dallas or Houston, maybe Austin. One of those, it goes away and they like don't care if you wait or anything. They check it like any other bag. Currently, that's rare. Second, they might send you to some kind of oversized scanning area. Currently, Minneapolis is like this. All right, so they'll have you go over to another area down on the end somewhere, wherever the door is, and then you go inside and they scan your door or scan your bag. So they may have you go to some area, they may escort you to some area. It's super creepy in Phoenix. You have to go up the Treadstone elevator into like a gray room, and that's probably the creepiest one's Phoenix. Nothing against Phoenix, but you're creepy. So you may have to go somewhere to have it scanned, or I have a very, very good story about Vegas, but there's other places like Vegas where it just goes behind the curtain and they say, wait over here for 10 minutes. If we need you, we'll call you. If you don't hear from us, then you can go through security. But before you leave the counter, you want to verify, do I need to wait or not? They will give you an affirmative yes or no. And that really depends. If they say wait. If this video gets more than 1,000 views, I will probably tell the story of the time that I did not wait. So there's your incentive to like and share. But if they tell you to wait. And more often than not these days, they don't want to see in it. The x-rays and equipment that they've gotten in the last few years, it's less and less common that they want to open it up. But it is not uncommon that they want to open it up. Usually what this is they either have to swab it for residue of some kind. Really, they're looking for explosives and they won't find anything, but you're dealing with the types of materials that kind of trip those sensors, and they're just making sure. But if they want to open it up, usually that's what they do. They have to open it up and swab it, or they are seeing voids in the case. An example that an agent told me one time, the barrel of a rifle, like an AR-15, very thick, dense steel. The x-ray that they had couldn't really see through the barrel steel, so it looks like a void in the case. If they can't look all the way through the case with their x-ray, they have to go in and verify what it is. That's just them doing their job. But if I would fly with shotguns and handguns, no issue. Fly with a rifle, boom, every time they wanted to open it up and see it. And that's an example of why they would want to see it. So they'll open it up. More often than not, they flip it open, and then they close it again. They maybe do their little death swab in there, and they put it in their little machine that says okay. Or maybe it throws a little alarm. Usually if it throws an alarm, they just have to have a supervisor come over, and they're like, Muhammad Jihad, and then they say it's okay. Don't be alarmed if that thing goes off. They're just going to, if you haven't done anything wrong, if you don't have anything you're not supposed to have, it's fine. But they're going through the process, and it's a machine that has to analyze this thing. So they open it up. Understand that by the rules, they're not allowed to touch the guns. All right. So some of them do anyway, and good luck getting them in trouble for that if they do. But like I've had it before where they like dismantled my case and then they couldn't put it back together. Maybe that's another story for another day too. But they're not really supposed to handle your stuff, and they're most certainly not going to let you handle it. So when you're packing, pack it. If you're one of these people that like stuff's absolutely full and there's only one way to get it shut, understand that might cause you some heartache if they search your case. So it also behooves you to pack so that it could be searched and reassembled again, because there's a very high likelihood it's going to get searched. But they'll do whatever they're going to do if they do that, and they'll lock it up again and send it on its way. Used to be you had to or could be present when that was going on. That has changed. A lot of these scan points are behind the checkpoints. You're not allowed back there. So you have to be quasi okay with some of this going on without your supervision. But to ease your nerves on that, in some of the old days, there was lots of talk about like guns getting stolen, guns disappearing, this, that, and the other thing behind the curtain. Well, now I think the airlines got kind of tired of that reputation, and also this is being recorded in 2024. All right, I get a notification on my phone every time my bag passes a scanner. So from the second this thing leaves your site, it is pretty much tracked down to the few places it could be. And if it doesn't come out on the other end, guess what? The airline knows who's working there. All right, they can narrow it down pretty quick. I've never to date had a case not come out on the end it was supposed to. I know people who have, not recently, but I have never had one not come out. And that's one of the reasons I choose to patronize the airline that I do, because they're the most customer service oriented of the options. So that's why I choose to patronize them. They're not above fault, but they're the least bad option. So there are airlines that I've had bad experiences with, and I don't fly on them no matter what. As far as I'm concerned, I would rather drive even to Aruba than to fly on some of those because of bad experiences that I had. Customer service bad experiences, not firearms bad experiences, but they're kind of related. So they're going to scan it. They're maybe going to open it, maybe not. And it's going to be gone. And you're going to go on your flight just like any other person. You're going to get to the other end, and then a variety of things could happen. Usually, depending on it varies by individual airport how they handle this. Usually, you have to go to baggage services to claim it. That's the most controlled way to do it. So you'll go in there, the place where the grumpy people complain about their lost baggage. That's where you go, and you say, "Hey, I'm picking up a firearm." They're gonna want to see your ID. Usually, you don't have to be in a hurry about getting there because special bags get special treatment, and they do those last. So you don't have to be Johnny on the spot to get there. But roll up there. Hey, here's who I am. I have a firearm. And they'll just say, oh, okay, here it is. Or, oh, it's not here yet. Or you need to go to whatever this other place is. Sometimes it comes out in oversize. And sometimes there's someone over there to check your ID. And sometimes there's not. And sometimes they screw up and they just send it out on the belt like anything else. That's pretty rare, but I'd say it happens 10% of the time if you're checking a bag like this, or if you're packing like a carry gun in a normal luggage container. I would say maybe 10% of the time it comes out. It has a special tag on it, so they're supposed to catch it. But sometimes they don't. They're people. So you're going to get to the other end. Currently currently Delta will their policies are going to zip tie your case shut, as if that would keep a psychopath from doing whatever it is they're going to do. Like, oh, I was gonna, but oh no, there's a zip tie on there and I can't. I used to be super mad about it and feel like I was getting treated like a serial killer, but at the end of the day, like, they're just checking a box. Most of the people don't really care. If they're kind of uppity about it, I'm kind of rude to them, and if they're not, then I'm polite. So it's just kind of, play that as you want to. But it's the policy. They're just doing the policy. Just, you're almost home. But once you get your bag, then you head out to wherever you're going. Most of the rules and probably even the laws around the airport are that you don't get to open or handle your firearm until you're on airport property. Keep in mind that it's a heavily surveyed area, so use your best judgment in what you do after you get your bag back. But it's best to leave and then go about whatever you're doing. And that is basically the process. Again, this isn't a place to exhibit or, make your political stand. These people really aren't paid enough to care. Yes, probably personally, they are opposed to firearms, and, just people that take that kind of job generally aren't people who are into that kind of stuff. But they're not really, I don't really feel like they're discriminating against you. They're just obliging you because they have to. But they do, there's a policy and they're following it. All right, so just understand that. Like, treat them, they're service people following a policy that was decided levels and levels and levels above them. All right, so like nothing you can do at the counter level is going to change that. But understand that that's what's happening, and understand that you are largely in control of how that goes. Be likably forgettable. Biggest advice I could give you, and know the rules to the extent that you're able for yourself, so that you can just try to execute your plan and let it go through on the other end. Don't give them any choices that they don't already have. So that is my thoughts and advice on flying with guns, the process. We'll probably do videos in the coming days and weeks on some of the other aspects of this, namely the cases and packing of all this stuff. And for that, you'll have to tune in next time. So hope that was helpful. If you have any questions on any of this, you want me to expound on anything that I maybe didn't elaborate on enough for you, just let me know down in the comments below, and we'll see you guys next time.